we're in the midst of another Epstein,
A dump of information, absolutely.
situation. Exactly. Go
And
ahead.
I'll tell you an interesting story about Epstein. In about 2015, I was meeting with some people who had done some investigative work on Epstein. And it's before the story. I mean, he had been in the news because he had done that 18-month or just a little over a year sentence where he'd, spend the weekdays in the county jail. And there were lawyers representing victims, and they weren't ready to speak out yet. And that was the key to it. And I tried to fashion a sting around the New York residence where some of this stuff was happening. And the layers of security and the way it was set up, we couldn't pull it off. So after spending months looking at the Epstein story and trying to do that, and the compound in Florida was just too difficult the system was too difficult to infiltrate.
What do you mean by that? What do you mean by that?
We tried to get somebody in there to see what was going on with the hidden camera. I spent a lot of time working on the story, and it just didn't go anywhere in terms of the way I wanted to report.
So you attempted to
we looked at it.
Epstein.
We looked at infiltrating to see if these allegations were continuing and were true. The reason why this story got out there and the reason why he was prosecuted was the Miami Herald, who stayed with this story, and one of the reporters down there, Julie K. Brown, who wrote a book ultimately. Every day they pounded away. And this speaks to the importance of local news and newspapers. And she convinced some of these victims and survivors to speak out publicly. And the U.S. attorney in New York at the time said as much in the news conference when they announced the charges against Epstein. But without the Miami Herald, you wouldn't see this prosecution today. And we just got so hung up on doing it in a captivating, on-camera televised way that we couldn't pull it off. And it was the old-fashioned reporting of the Miami Herald that brought this to light the second time around.
What red tape were you running into?
It wasn't red tape. It was logistics of doing the story. Nobody said you can't do this story. Nobody said,
like that's what I was.
No, and I was at the time I was working for, I was doing stuff for Discovery. I was doing stuff on my own. We were talking about doing Cromwich Daily. There were a number of places where I could have released it on my own on digital social media. But we had nobody said don't touch this or the important people are involved. It was just I had to. In my mind, I wanted to do it up here with hidden camera video, and that just couldn't be done. And I got busy with other topics. It was the old-fashioned reporting of the Miami Herald that got this done, and that's my point.
Fact finding, so on and so forth.
Yeah.
So I mean, obviously, like this story once again is like a microcosm for this like greater investigation into elite in that community that I described, and I think curiously for all of us into elitism and.
But he's one of the ultimate predators, right? Him and Peter Nygaard. We did a big story on him. He had the big compound in the Bahamas and multiple and impregnating girls and using the stem cells from the fetuses for youth, enhancing things that he was up to. These are bad guys.
Like stem
Yeah,
cells.
like he would impregnate these girls down to the Bahamas at his compound and then harvest the aborted fetuses and have them injected in himself.
So
It's
like
crazy
that.
thing.
So, but
those
here's,
are bad.
But
Those
here's
are
the
bad
question:
guys,
like
but they
that's-
were able to. Guys like that and Epstein were able to use money, influence, and figure out ways to infiltrate these other people's lives. And sometimes they dangled sex and massages in front of them. Sure, absolutely.
So
And
you're
they're
not
bad people.
denying. You're not denying that things of that just insane storyline or of that just ridiculous nature actually happen.
Sometimes they happen.
You're just denying those specific stories that I brought up earlier.
Yeah,
because you
Pizzagate is BS. But my point is, Epstein was a bad guy who lured a lot of people in there. A lot of people, were weak and engaged in bad behavior with him. But at the core of it, Epstein is the predator who was preying upon intelligent people, wealthy people. I mean, this guy, had.
He's as bad as it gets.
It is. He and Peter Nygaard
And
is right up there with him.
Were they protected?
I mean, I think there were lawyers hired by wealthy people who were on the periphery of this thing.
What about
protected them.
politicians?
I don't think there was any official government action, or there was no action by an investigating agency like the FBI to say, okay, Clinton's name pops up here. We're not going to do anything about it. Protect him. I don't think that happened.
Was he John Doe 63 or whatever?
Well, he was in there. I mean, there are pictures of him there. He was, he flew on the plane. His family flew on the plane. Epstein was able to open the doors for, the daughter's wedding, Chelsea's wedding, and, secure yachts and properties and things like that. So, but he was good at, so are these people taking part in all the sex parties? We don't know.
That's the question.
Or is he just manipulating, people and then getting a photo of a guy getting a massage on a flight? Again, you shouldn't be doing it. This guy got popped and, on one charge in Florida. People should do their due diligence and not hang out with folks.
So you
like
think
this.
It may have just been laziness of the people?
I think there was some of that. I think, if you're a single guy and there's a guy, you don't know anything about his criminal, you don't know that he's got a criminal background, he's got a jet and an island, you may go take a trip with him, not knowing that he was engaging in wide scale human trafficking. I mean, bad stuff. And Ghislaine Maxwell was right there with him.
See, you have a little bit more hope.
Well, I see nuance to it.
That's what, and I believe that's important.
But I'm not defending Bill Clinton. I'm not defending Bill Gates. I'm not defending any of these people.
Stephen Hawking.
Yeah, I mean, you can't make that up.
I'm sorry. Can you explain
Stephen Hawking was frequenting the island. He was frequenting the island.
Have you seen the memes?
I've seen the memes.
What do you make of those? I
mean, disturbing.
He's dead.
He's
dead.
It's just
it is. But it goes to the point where that's how good he was at corrupting people and getting them involved in this stuff. Now, again, I can't tell you that there was no illicit sex that took place
because we don't know,
and we don't know. And they put themselves in danger by saying, "Okay, we're going to go hang out with Epstein." Did they get into it for illicit sexual activity? Maybe not. We don't know. But he was good at getting a lot of good, smart people with money in his circle.
It's just become so politicized as well.
Of course it has.
Listen, there's pictures and videos of the entire Clinton family with Epstein. There's pictures of Donald Trump dancing with Jeffrey Epstein, dancing, pointing at him, doing the finger guns, and then claiming he never knew who he was,
and then claiming that he banned him from Mar-a-Lago because he was hitting on somebody's daughter or an employee there.
Well, the video shows them looking literally like best friends.
Yeah,
and so I think
that timeline might also be what he
the question is like who truly knows? I think there's a lot of speculation, but dialing it back, I want to bring it back up a level. Epstein has become the face of this elitist investigation into elitists and Hollywood and so on and so forth. And I want to ask you this question. Right now, there's a general public, like I said, obsession with investigation into Hollywood and what people are doing there. Do you think statistically Hollywood represents a bigger majority of predatory scenarios, or do you think middle America represents a higher statistic probability?
Well, I think for high profile cases like Weinstein, I mean, it's a horrible case. This guy was a bad guy, and the multiple, and not just allegations, but clear cut cases where he was preying on women. Horrible. And so he is arguably at one time one of the biggest Hollywood figures. So you got to think, okay, if Weinstein's doing it, who else is doing it? So I see why people have that perception of Hollywood being Hollyweird, and I get it all the time on social media. Lay off the regular guys and go after everybody in Hollywood. Well, I don't think everyone in Hollywood is engaging in this type of behavior, but we have seen some of the highest profile cases in recent history involving Hollywood people.
Well, of course, they're the highest profile cases.
But they have. When you have money and you have a sense of impunity and you don't think you can get caught and you've got all this power, power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. It's an old adage, but it's true.
Hey guys, if you like that clip, hit the subscribe button. And if you want to see more zany clips, click the video right here.